Welcome to the Improviding Life podcast. This is Lori Robin, your host. Thank you for joining me for our first episode, which I figured would make sense if we talked about what is improviding. So improviding is a mashup of the words improv and providing. So for those of you who don't know, improvisational comedy is a form of comedy where everything is made up on the spot. And so when I realized the way that I was navigating life and trying to be more in my body and actually experience life, having deeper relationships with myself and others, that I was bringing the spirit of improv. And what that affords me or provides me really is a way to actually experience and process life as it's happening in the moment. Because so often what was happening was I was maybe taking years to realize a certain event happened, right? I was shutting down, compartmentalizing, and not actually processing what had happened. And over time, that had me so raggedy because we can only stuff things down for so long before suddenly we have no more closet space to stuff things in. So the idea of improviding is that as life is giving us moments to experience, opportunities to connect with ourselves and others, what if we improvise our response to that? What if we have a way to be in the moment that isn't so pressure-based of getting it right, but more so of sensing and noticing what's happening and having access to choices of how we would like to react instead of only reacting on autopilot like we're really expected to do. Because what ends up happening is when we're only on autopilot, or what I like to call adulting on autopilot, suddenly everything seems to blend into everything else. We may not realize that someone has been impacting us negatively. We might be impacting other people negatively. And we just suddenly lose that zest, right? We're feeling so groggy, worn down, and we may even lose touch with any of the little things that may have meant something to our life at some point in time. So the idea of improviding life is that as life is happening, what if we're actually living it, right? What if we're not just existing? And so this podcast is going to offer space for one, not only learning what I formulated as the tools of improviding, but also seeing that in action. There's going to be random skits, weird sounds, monologues, guest speakers. It's really going to be whatever each episode is. So if you're someone who really likes consistency and knowing the format, some episodes may not be for you, and that is totally okay. But I invite you to explore how having a little shock and awe, having a different way to play with our emotions and feel our emotions and get into our bodies might actually be something that provides a different quality of life for you, something that you can embody yourself, that you can then practice over time. So what to expect? I'm going to always strive to hold room for all of our humanity, because when we're adulting on autopilot, we're really in zombie mode. So how can we actually be living humans and be okay with all of the messy, complicated, wonderful things that come with that? How can we play more? I like this idea of, instead of having to drown in our emotions, what if we get to snorkel a little bit? What if we get to play with them? What if we get to realize what they mean for us, how we feel them in our own bodies, and cultivate something I consider of like a self-literacy? What does this really mean for me? How am I experiencing this? Not every episode will have a guest, but the episodes that will be longer episodes. So that way there's a variety of different lengths and formats. So whatever ends up fitting your desires or needs for that day, hopefully there'll be something available for that. And always, as your resident hype person, there will be so much encouragement. I really thrive and enjoy and appreciate moments to lift people up. I think so many times we don't realize that we're really great at something because we assume everyone else is. So one of my superpowers is really seeing how people are shining for themselves and then hyping that up. I like to think of that, as yes-anding you. And yes and is one of the tools of improviding that we will jump into. And overall, we're going to be doing emotional embodiment made accessible. So what that really means is I am an emotional embodiment guide, and that's really demystifying emotions, understanding where and how you learned that emotions were bad and we're not supposed to have emotions, and how to mask them, which ones are acceptable, especially if you're a woman or female identifying person. How do you balance not being too sensitive, right? All of these performance metrics that really disconnect us from what it is to be human. And so as a guide, I'm really here to hold that space of getting curious, of playing, of questioning what was the norm, and asking ourselves, does it have to continue to be the only way? And while this could be heavy at some times, I really feel like we have to hold space for the heaviness in life, right? That is a part of life. But when we're merging that with play and the gift that improv can offer us, it really is suddenly about having a relationship. And so our overarching experience that I hope to offer with this podcast are just a series of different relationships that you're either having with yourself, with others, these moments where you're suddenly like, oh, it feels like I'm living life. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this first episode. I tried to keep it short and sweet, and I want to celebrate that you just improvided life with me. So I hope you tune in soon. The next episode will be going in more detail about what is improv. As always, I hope you have a razzle-dazzle day, and if you can't, that's okay. You can put an F on front and have a frazzle-dazzle day. Yes, we're low budget right now, and we are having snap intros and outros. That's called Improviding life, making your own beats and razzle-dazzle day in that shit.